Today is May 1st, 2024, and what an exciting time it is to be a part of the self-directed education movement. This is a special and time-sensitive episode because Karema Akilah and her community are launching their very own cryptocurrency, the BeMe token, today. And I wanted to give Karema a space to share this exciting news and to walk us through how we can be a part of supporting this next iteration of the self-directed education community. You're in for a treat in a crash course in cryptocurrency, Web3, and the metaverse. All things your kids are already doing and are familiar with in the online worlds that they inhabit. Please check the show notes for all the ways that you can get involved and to learn more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Let 'Em Go Barefoot podcast. Today, I have the wonderful privilege of introducing you to Karema Akilah. Karema, I have been following her work for probably 4 or 5 years now, and it's amazing what I have witnessed her create and also the beauty in that inspiration when you're inspired and you see something that you maybe wouldn't have taken before, a path maybe you wouldn't have thought you would take before, once you explore that to see what can come out of it and how she's affected a community locally and internationally. So I've invited Karema on to talk about her work in self-directed education, in unschooling, and in building community for people who are seeking out this sort of support. So welcome, Karema.
Oh, Missy, it is always so good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Excuse me, you're so welcome. I would just love for you to jump right in. Just tell us about you, your family, and kind of give us a little walkthrough of how you made it to this point.
All right. Well, again, my name is Karema Akilah. I am originally from Philadelphia. I went to one of the best HBCUs ever. That's a historical Black college or university called Morgan State University in Baltimore. And that's where I got my degree in teaching. After graduating college, I got married and I began teaching in Maryland's public schools. And then my husband and I got pregnant with our oldest. And that boy was born at the end of December. Like, I should have held out just a little bit longer. He could have been a January baby. But December 29th is his birthday. And so fast forward, we added to the family very quickly. So we have a total of 6 kids, 4 boys, 2 girls. And because of that oldest one's late birthday, he was already reading by the time he was 3. Not really anything that I did. He just, came here that way. We were not technically homeschooling or unschooling at that time, because I'm a firm believer that, that when you have a little one that's 1, 2, or 3, really it's just based on play. But I can tell you that we were using parenting practices by a man called Dr. Glenn Doman. And he actually gave me my first taste of unschooling before I even knew what unschooling was. He said, "You only teach when you are joyful and the child is joyful. And you only put before them the things that the children love, and you stop before they want you to stop." And I said, if that isn't just rooted in joy and authenticity and fun, right? So I had no idea what unschooling was, but we were following his parenting practices. So fast forward, we were living in Baltimore City at the time, and it really was not a good environment for me to put a little Black boy who was already fluently reading, probably on like the 2nd grade level at that point, in a kindergarten. So I said, well, you know what? We're already kind of doing this at home. Isn't there something called homeschooling? Can we just do that? And so that's how we officially got started. Funny thing, Missy, although I started in joy, I kept that going until those older 2 kids got to be around the age of maybe 9 or 10. Maybe a little bit early, like when the baby teeth fall out and the adult teeth come in, that's when you're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe I should be doing like some real school,
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's when we made the switch to a more traditional homeschool. That's when I used every ounce of my degree and created a school at home structure. I mean, Missy, was terrible. I had the kids dressed in uniforms to come to the dining room table. I mean, it was just ridiculous. I'm ringing a bell in between subjects. And, it was crazy. I had toddlers and nursing babies and kids looking like they worked at Target, a uniform with the khaki pants. It was just a mess. And so in between that, I had started a couple of different co-ops along the way. Some of them met, in my home and a friend's home or at different churches. And somewhere around like fast forward to like 2012, I guess, maybe 2013, we had switched to classical education. And that really was the beginning of the end for us. Um,
Mm.
and because in that system, while I'm sure it works well for those that it works well for us, and then you throw in a crazy mama who is just attached to her curriculum like a slave, it really was just a recipe for a mess. And so, my children were lethargic learners. They were compliant, but they were
Mm.
disengaged, right? Nobody was at home. There were no lights
Yeah.
on inside the building. So I said,
Right.
this can't work. This isn't what I signed up for. There's got to be something else. And I remember coming across probably project based learning at the time, which led me. You got to massage it. I know some people
Mm-hmm.
jump right into unschooling. Not me. I needed to massage it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I told the kids, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to have, and I had to sell it in my commercial voice, we're going to have classical mornings and delight driven afternoons. And the kids were like, what? I said, okay,
What are you saying?
what is this?
Yeah.
What is this new thing? So I'm going to teach you in the morning with our classical studies. And then in the afternoon, after lunch, you can be, self-directed. You can be whatever would delight you. That's what you can do. So my younger ones were like, okay, mom, that sounds great. The older ones were like, I don't trust her. I don't trust her.
Right. They can see through it, can't they?
They can see through it. So that's how we started. I would teach our classical stuff in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they would follow their own interests. And Missy, I saw the light come on in the eyes of my children, the very things that I've been trying to drill down their throats. Now they were coming to on their own because they saw an interest, they saw a need. It was relevant to them when they wanted to do it. And you know how smart these kids are. One day they woke up and they began delight driven afternoon before breakfast.
Mm.
And so I came downstairs and I had a whole entire parent teacher conference in my head, right? The
Yeah.
teacher and me was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. It is not time for all that curiosity. Put all of that joy and passion away. No, no. It is time for classical morning. Sit down right now. Let me teach you. But the mother in me said, wait a minute, isn't this what we want? And that is what ushered us into now I know our deschooling process and into unschooling. And then around 2015, my husband became sick with leukemia. And
Mm.
so that meant an hour drive to the hospital, about a 3 to 4 hour stay, and then an hour drive back. And that was every other day. So by this
Oh my
time, my
goodness.
youngest was 4 years old, and the older ones were at home, keeping everyone alive while I was trying to keep, dad alive. And then in 2016, he passed. And so now
Mm.
here I am, a mom of 6 kids. I had been a stay at home mom for 16 years. And I will tell you, during that whole time that I had been at home, Missy, I did not consider, and I'm a bit ashamed to say, but I did not consider families who could not have someone stay at home with their kids, right? We were
Mm.
loving our little unschool lives. My kids were free, to learn whatever, they wanted to learn. We finally found that joy, that curiosity, that peace. I began to trust my children. But now that that was in jeopardy, I was like, well, wait a minute. What do we do now? What do
Right.
families do who want that kind of freedom and autonomy, but there's no one who can stay home with the children? And I had never given that consideration before. So that led me to look for schools where if I had to return to work full time, where could I take my kids? And at the
Mm-hmm.
time, we were living in Pennsylvania, right above Maryland. So we were an hour from Harrisburg and an hour from Baltimore. And that's the only places where two
Right.
Sudbury schools were. And that drive just didn't work. And I said,
Mm-mm.
well, I want to start something that resolves some of the five main issues that I see with self directed learning schools, which are number one, awareness. People just don't even know. Like even
Mm-hmm.
today, people don't know that there are whole entire private schools where you can enroll your children if you can't stay home with them. And then accessibility, right? I knew where they were, but an hour away wasn't going to work. And then diversity. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
African American mom. People who at that time I didn't see a whole lot of people who looked like me, looked like my kids in these schools, let alone starting these schools. And then what about different kinds of learners? What about learners who are neurodivergent? What about
Mm-hmm.
medically fragile children? What about people who live in rural areas? What about people who live in foreign countries? Do they not deserve to also be free and autonomous? And then documentation, right? When you remove the centralized curriculum, how on earth are you going to know what everyone's doing? I found that out firsthand trying to unschool 5, 6 kids with an evaluation at the end of the year and a sick
Yeah.
husband, right? So that didn't
Mm-hmm.
work. And then, of course, the big one is funding. Once you find these schools, how can you afford to pay for them? I was going to put at least 4 kids into these schools, and I couldn't afford that.
Right.
So all of that is what led me to begin the Genius Schools.
That's amazing. Gosh, Karema, when you pulled out those main pieces, I think those are so important to highlight because they're oh my gosh, my brain is not on this morning. Turn it on. Come on. We can do it. They keep people from doing it, that
Yeah,
they're
barriers. Yeah, there
thank you.
could be
That's
big
the word.
barriers.
Not bridges,
Mm-hmm.
barriers. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a barrier and it really does take someone who has that ability to think things through and it is like they say necessity is a mother of invention, and so you had that experience and you saw how that would impact your life, and so you were able to create something for others to enjoy too, and that's just a beautiful, amazing story. And so how did you do it, like how, because it sounds to me like I hear you, I'm sitting here listening to your story and all, and also feeling almost lazy because I have 2 kids and sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
feel overwhelmed, and I'm like, how do you do that? How do you do that? So can you explain to us like how you pulled it together? I mean, I know sometimes it's just a personality thing too. Like you just have that really driven personality, but what did you do to get that off the ground?
Girl, I don't know if it was personality. I really think it was out of necessity.
Yeah, yeah.
I really think at that moment, here I am, right? My husband has gone, my whole entire life is just up in shreds. And I'm in
Mhm.
this space where I'm just evaluating everything. I'm looking at a blade of grass and I'm like, what is the color green? What is it really?
Mm.
Right. So I'm in that headspace. And when you're in, for me anyway, when I was in that headspace, it really did open up that all things are possible.
Wow.
Because for me, losing my husband, now becoming a widow and a widowed single mom, and it took me like forever to be able to say that phrase, right? And
Mhm.
not choke up. But
Mhm.
being a widowed single mom of 6 kids after staying at home for 16 years, I never thought that I would be in that place. So when
Right.
I say that all things are possible, I'm coming from that side of the coin where this was the impossible thing that I never wanted to happen to me. So now
Mhm.
let me flip the coin on the other side and let me create the impossible thing that I do want to happen to me, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, all right, well, a couple things were happening at the same time. So I knew that I wanted to start a private school. Now, the reason why they needed to be private schools was because I was looking at my situation. I in different states have different rules for what you can do with your homeschoolers. Like in some states, like where I am now in Georgia, you can be a homeschooling parent, homeschooling family, and drop off your kid however many days you want, and no one is coming to check. There is no evaluation at the end of the year. So, down here you can do that. Can't do that in other states, right?
Right.
So I wanted to create something that worked everywhere. So that's why I began researching the private school distinction. Okay, that opened up a whole bunch of a whole
Yeah.
bunch of options, right? Because each state has different rules for how you can go about doing that. But I was clear, Missy, that I did not want to be a part of the problem. So I
Mhm.
said, well, let me just create for the edges. You got to go to the edges of a thing and create not just for what's in the middle. What's in the middle is easy, but you got to go to the rough spaces and create a solution for what's rough. And then that automatically covers what's easy, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I began researching that. I said, okay, I see what I have to do, in order to, become private schools in different states. Then we moved. Okay, and we moved from Pennsylvania. I said, you know what? I'm sick and tired of these winters. I'm born and raised in Pennsylvania. I'm ready for something else.
Mhm.
So we moved south. So we moved to Georgia in December of 2019.
Hmm.
And we all know what's happening, right? I
Yeah,
didn't
we
at
know
the
what's
time.
coming on.
We know what's coming along.
Yep.
So I held my first interest meeting for the Genius Schools here in Atlanta, January 20th, 2020. Right, look at that numerology right there,
Oh,
and
wow.
had a great success, right? Great turnout, and then, of course, pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So what pandemic taught us was how to do this online. So we began first because the family said, well, you know what? Well, what can we do? How can we say yes? Which was, that's my motto. Whenever I feel stuck, I ask myself, how can I say yes? And then that opens my brain to be able to consider all of the different possibilities for how I could say yes. So my families that I had at the time, they spun that on me. They said, well, wait a minute. How can we say yes? You're always telling us to say yes. How can you say yes? So we began doing it on Zoom, like everybody else did in the world, right? So we did
Mm-hmm.
it on Zoom for a little while. And the Genius Schools are really rooted in our 5 pillar invitations. These are 5 areas where we invite kids to, number one, know thyself, do something that lights you up on the inside to discover your genius, which, by the way, genius just simply means spirit attended at birth. It really means who you are innately. It means
Mm.
it has evolved to mean an exceptional intellectual or creative power or other natural ability or a strong leaning or inclination. So the whole reason for a Pillar 1 invitation is let's discover who you are. And we do that by inviting you to do things that you love to do. Pillar 2 invitation is know your source. How do you resource yourself? How do you take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and socially? Pillar 3 is knowing how to be financially sustainable. How do you do that? Either as a business owner, how do you do that if you're a young person starting out a job? What are investments? These are questions that kids are asking. Younger kids are saying, well, how do I get some Robux? We talk
Yeah,
about that too.
right.
Pillar 4 invitation is know thy world. Older learners travel and complete an autonomous field trip in their city and town and then come back and create a documentary about it. And then pillar
Mm.
5 is know how to serve your community with your genius. Once you know who you are, once you know what your dependable strengths are, how then can you serve the people living in your backyard? So that's who we are. Then the second part of who we are as a Genius School are the student-led corporations. Very similar to Sudbury and Agile Learning Centers. The kids create their own little groupings based on what they would love to do together. So that's how we started. We started that online on Zoom. And it went as well as it could with everything else that was going on in the world at pandemic. We found a little platform that allowed for you to have a little avatar. It's called Gather Town, and your little avatar can walk up to my avatar, and then our cameras turn on and our microphones turn on, and we can talk to each other as if we were in person, and then we can walk away to another room. And it's really a very interactive space. So what we learned, Missy, during pandemic was how to create a virtual self-directed learning community. And we got really good at that.
Okay.
We got really good at that. But there was still the vision that I received, which was an in-person community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then fast forward to, let's see, whatever year it was in pandemic, probably around like 2022 or so. Um, that's when I said, okay, let's give this a go again. let's
Yeah.
try it again. And a lot of my story is let's do it again. And it takes something to do it again. Um, so I began putting the feelers out, looking for families who wanted this, and a recurring theme started happening. People wanted it, and most of the people were like me. Many of them were single moms who desperately wanted this, or their learners were not doing well in school because traditional school, their learner just didn't fit in that model.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, this is exactly what we want, but we can't afford to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to turn parents away. Then I had to turn away facilitators because there weren't any parents to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So what did end up happening is in Maryland, we have a community there. My dear sister, Brittany Young, runs an amazing learning community there, a 5 pillar genius community there called Young Heirs. And right now she's doing it in her home. She has some families that are there, but the same thing. They want a standalone building outside of her home. And all of these things converge together. And I said, you know what? there's got to be a solution to this funding problem. Now, Missy, we can do what we've always done, and we'll get what we've always gotten.
Right.
Right? Traditionally, private schools, micro or otherwise, are funded by parent tuition or by some type of, nonprofit effort, right? Donor related effort. And we will continue to get what we've always gotten. And so I said, well, wait a minute, how can I say yes? There's got to be something else. Now, what I didn't tell you is back in 2016, right before my husband passed, we were in the hospital one day. And I called home to check on the kids, and they were having a ball. I said, guys, you got to write down what you're doing because that lady is coming at the end of the year. And I'm not at home, right, to document it. Of course, they didn't write anything down at all. And I said, you know what? I wish that when I got off the phone, I said, I wish there was a way that they could take their phone, take a picture or video, whatever it is that they're doing, write a narrative description. I wish there was a way that that technology, at the time, I didn't know the words AI, but that technology can take whatever it is that they're doing, rooted in authenticity, rooted in freedom, rooted in relevance to the 8-year-old, to the 11-year-old, right? Whatever that is, and then translate that into something that a school standard or a college admission board could understand, right? Back into
Right.
that world.
Yep.
And then I wish that this app could produce a transcript, for high schoolers, because, I didn't feel like having to do that. I wish this app could do that. To which I heard a voice say, well, why don't you build it? So I did. And in the process of doing that, the developer I was working with at the time, he said, have you ever heard of this thing called blockchain? And I said, block what? he said blockchain. And he explained what it was. He said, it's an immutable ledger. It is, imagine if you could have a notebook where everything that you do is captured in this notebook and no one can ever erase it unless that change is also made in this notebook. I said, okay, blockchain. And he said to me at the time, and Missy, I didn't understand it back in 2016. He said, have you ever heard of cryptocurrency? I said, now I know you lost me now. If I barely understood what blockchain was, I really don't understand crypto. Now, this was back when Bitcoin was like $16.
Oh my gosh. If we could just go back in time, right?
I know. And so my developer at the time explained, he said, you really do have something with this app. You are already in a decentralized learning model, like your learners are already doing decentralized learning, right? There's no one set curriculum. Everyone gets to do their own thing, right? He said, I really think that you have something here in this world of Web3. So I began using the words, we are, decolonizing parenting. We are, decentralizing learning. And people were like, decentralized? What does that mean? Back in 2016, they had no clue, right? So bring the two together now, fast forward to 2022. Now the world was just about ready for all of that I had been talking about back in 2016.
Wow.
And that led us to this thing called the DAO.
Okay. Yep.
You with me so far?
I am with you. I am with you. I'm just amazed. I'm just sitting here like I'm taking notes because there's so much that I want to touch on, but I want you to keep going because I think the way you're explaining it is so clear and you're giving us that timeline and it makes sense and it's all connected. So explain to us the DAO. So how does that work and what does that look like?
So, well, first of all, let me explain, who we are for. So the GeniiDAO is for anyone who values authenticity, freedom, and connection, and an active community. Our merchandise corporation, the kids made a merch corp, and we've named it the 13-year sentence, which means as long as governments mandate a 13-year compulsory school sentence, we will create 13-year sentences of freedom and autonomy. So the DAO is for anyone who aligns with that. Now, let me explain when I say DAO. So the GeniiDAO, DAO. DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Now,
Okay.
as I explained this, Missy, I want you to, you're familiar with Sudbury School's Agile Learning Centers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I want you to listen, and I want your audience to listen for the similarities. And I want you to tell me afterwards where you see the alignment. All right. So a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, is simply a group of people with a common goal and a shared treasury. And the group of people inside of the DAO are responsible for creating their own governance.
Mm.
Okay. Now, do you see some alignment between what
Oh,
happens
yeah.
in? Okay. All right. Where do
Yep.
you see alignment?
Well, all of it. They're a group of people. They have that common goal. They share their
Mm-hmm.
finances, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they do the self governance.
Correct. Right. So the kids in these learning communities are in charge of, creating their own rules, for their community. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that the DAO does is they just add a little layer of technology. So
Okay.
number one, those decisions, that governance is documented on blockchain.
Okay.
Okay, now we're going to slow walk this through. Okay,
Yeah.
Missy.
No, we got to turn it down to 0.5 because, like, okay, this is where it gets in the weeds for me.
No, I got you. So this is what I do. I actually teach a course every other Tuesday called Meet Me at the Corner. And I'm
Okay.
asking people, meet me at the corner of Unschooling Avenue and Web3 Boulevard.
Mm.
Right? And so I meet people on Unschooling Avenue and we walk to the corner. I take people on Web3 Boulevard. We walk to the corner and we see what's available. We see what's there.
And when you say that, you mean literally inside the platform of
Mm-hmm.
what's the name of the platform you use?
GatherTown.
GatherTown, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
So,
inside GatherTown, there's a
mm-hmm.
literal space that you can
You know what?
meet.
You know what? There isn't, but you just gave me
Oh,
an idea to create one.
oh,
I think I'm going
okay,
to do that.
good. I'm
But
glad
no,
I
this,
added something to the
yes, you
conversation.
did. Yes, you did, of course. But this is more of a figurative way to, I'm thinking about where are these communities, right?
Okay.
So, I had both feet squarely planted in my unschooling lifestyle. Everything you
Mm-hmm.
just created, everything you just pulled out of what happens in Sudbury schools and Agile Learning Centers, that was my life, right? And
Yeah.
it took my developer, who was already on Web3 Boulevard, to say, do you see that we're doing the same thing over here? We're just adding a layer of technology to what you're already doing.
Mm.
So I host these conversations on Twitter. I host them on Zoom, where I invite members from both communities to meet with me so that we can see what's possible.
Okay.
So for the unschooling community, since I know that's mostly your audience, what we are already doing, especially in our SDE schools and communities, you're already creating your own governance. We already have a shared common goal, which is autonomy and freedom. And there is a currency, there is a treasury, right? Parents are paying tuition or there's some type of nonprofit fundraising, and the learners and the staff, the facilitators, they create the rules for what to do with those funds. Over here in the DAO, you do the same exact thing, but when it comes to the treasury is a different kind of currency called cryptocurrency.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And the decisions that we make to govern that cryptocurrency, that is what is managed by technology.
Got it.
So, you know how when you're doing your online banking, right? So you go online on your phone, right? And you go into your bank and you might give your banking account a new command. Like I changed my PIN the other day, right? On my card. So right in the app, I click change PIN, I put in the new PIN number and I click save, and something happened in my bank where it said, "Oh, she changed the number. Now the number is automatically saved to this new thing," right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't see the technology that runs in the background that makes all of that possible. All we see is I told my bank account to do this thing and it did it
Yep.
automatically. It didn't have to go check with a supervisor. It just did what I told it to do, right? That automation that runs behind that transaction, that automation is called a smart contract. That's how smart contracts work, where we as a DAO, we tell the smart contract, if then that. When
Okay.
there is X amount of money in our shared treasury, then pay the director X amount of money to pay for the building and their salary. And that,
Okay.
yeah, see, it's not that
Okay.
crazy, right? Not that crazy.
No, no, it's different.
Right.
It's so different because people are so used to that physical, like I have this amount and therefore I can do these things, where it's like you're kind
Hmm.
of flipping that around and you're like,
Yes.
we're going to still do those things, but we're going to be paid based on what's there. Is that
Yes.
the way I'm
Yep.
understanding? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. And then the actual currency itself. Now, there is a huge opportunity to create a different funding source. So I told you there are 5 main areas that I'm here to solve, right?
Mhm.
Awareness, accessibility, diversity, funding, and documentation.
Mhm.
For what we're doing with the DAO, funding and documentation run parallel. And we can transform for the edges using an alternative method of currency. So I've been watching these people, right, create their different tokens, and I mean, they're amassing, millions of dollars.
Mhm.
Either the project is bogus and people are just taking this money and running with it, or there's a legitimate project and people are, donating their crypto to it, and now they have, full funding to do what it is that they want to do. The kicker for me was a project that I heard about that happened in 2021. There was a you're going to love this. There was a version of the Constitution was up for auction at Sotheby's in New York.
Hmm.
And a group of folks were in a text thread together, and one person said, "Ha ha, hee hee, wouldn't it be funny if someone got me a copy of the Constitution, for Christmas?" And another friend said, "Well, wait a minute, how much is it?" And this woman worked at the auction, and she said, "Well, I think it's, up for auction like 8, 12 million, something like that."
Oh my gosh.
Hmm. And the guy said, "Well, can we get that with crypto?" And they began researching it, and Sotheby's did take crypto payments, cryptocurrency. And Missy, within 4 days, they were able to amass over $45 million
Oh my gosh.
in order to bid on this version of the Constitution.
Wow.
Right. Now, funny thing about crypto and blockchain and the way it works is very transparent, right? I can see, remember I said that blockchain is like that magical notebook where you can see all of the changes that's happening in there?
Mhm.
Well, I can also go into your I can see how much money they raised. And so when they went to the auction, someone else said, "Oh, I see that y'all have raised $45 million. I'm going to bid 45.1." And so
Oh,
they
okay.
lost the auction, right?
Okay.
But I was inspired by what they were able to do. Now hear me clearly. If we continue to do what we've always done, we will continue to get what we've always gotten. I don't know how many SDE schools that I've seen having to close or struggle to open. Families that really desperately want their kids to go but can't afford to pay tuition. Facilitators that have had to quit because they need to earn a living wage to take care of their families.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? And we keep doing the same thing. Right? So we're charging parents tuition. We're trying to do some nonprofit fundraising. We're seeking donors. We're writing grants. While that can come in at the amount and the timing that it comes in, it still perpetuates a same problem.
Yep.
So I said, well, if these people over here can raise $45 million in 4 days, I do believe that I can raise north of $5 million in about 4 months.
Okay.
Okay. So we created our Be Free to Be Me movement. So the Be Me movement is our game that we're playing in the world right now with our BeMe token.
So the BeMe token is a
Mm-hmm.
crypto token. Is that
Yes.
okay? Okay.
Yep. And the reason why we call it the BeMe token is I host what's called the Genius Conversation. I've been doing it now for about 4 years. Started it in COVID, where the Genius Conversation begins with me asking the parents, the kids, the teachers, whoever shows up, what's not working in school. And I ask one question that is the game changer, which is, who do you never get to be in your current learning environment that's not working for
Mm,
you?
okay.
And Missy, the number one answer that children, parents, and traditional school teachers have said is I never get to be free to be me.
Wow.
Right?
Mm.
So I said, well, why don't we, if that is the thing that people want the most, they want this freedom in order to be authentically themselves in this 13-year compulsory sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why don't we put the value on that? Because that is exactly what people are wanting. That is exactly what they're valuing right now. So when we create our own cryptocurrency, let's call it the BeMe token.
I love it.
Because
Love it. Love it. Love it.
because in this world, that's what we are funding. The ability for people to be free to be themselves.
Yeah. Mm. Okay. So my brain is spinning. So
Okay, go ahead. I got you, friend.
Okay. So what I'm trying to take apart is
Mm-hmm.
you said you saw how they raised money. Where did you
Mm-hmm.
see how they raised money? Like what platform? Is this an open platform that anybody can access, or do you have to have like an account, or how does that work?
Great question. I first heard their story probably on YouTube, right? So I heard their story on YouTube. They talked about, what they did. You can go to, okay, perfect example. You know how if you buy stocks in a company,
Yep.
do you know where to go to look at how a stock is doing in a company?
I do know that like you can type in the stock name or the exchange
Yeah,
number like in Google,
there you
and
go.
there's that. So
That's exactly correct.
okay.
So the same exact thing happens in crypto, where you can, so in the stocks, that is called a centralized exchange,
All right.
right? In Web3, it is called a decentralized exchange. So you can go to many different platforms and you can pull up the ticker, just like you do for stocks.
Yep.
You pull up the ticker of the token and you can see how that token is performing.
Okay.
Okay. So now, because just to close out the story on so they were called Constitution DAO. That was their name, right? The people who wanted to bid on the Constitution. Because they lost that bid, they promised to give back the money to the people who, gave their money. If they wanted their money back, they can get their money back.
Mm.
Funny thing that happened though, their token began to take on a life of its own. And so people wanted to, continue with, the project. And then so they took that and continued on with it. But most of the people exited out and said it was a great experiment. We really did make history, even though we didn't win.
Right.
So with the BeMe token, once we put it live on a decentralized exchange, everyone will be able to go to, say, Etherscan or another type of decentralized scan tracker, and you'll be able to see the progress of our BeMe token.
Okay. And so you said
Mm-hmm.
when you make it live, so the plan you're putting
Mm-hmm.
down the foundational plan and the stepping stones currently.
Correct.
Do you have like a estimated date that you think you'll make it live?
So absolutely. So our goal is to play the Be Free to Be Me movement for the entire month of May.
Okay.
My goal now, I'm a bit of an ambitious girl, if you haven't been able to tell that by now. I drive my family crazy. But our goal is to have our token live by May 1st, otherwise known as Wednesday.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And in
Wait, did
order
you
to
just say what?
do,
You're right. Oh my gosh, that is Wednesday.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
Wednesday.
Man.
Yeah. Yep. And so in order to have that go live, so you can mint tokens and they can sit there in your crypto wallet, very similar to, the wallet, your bank account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our tokens are sitting there and right now they have zero value
Okay.
because we have to take money and put it into the token, which means we're going to take our debit card, right? And we're going to tell the platform, the smart contract, please put $3,000 into our token. So you have to give it some value.
Okay.
Okay. Once you give it some value, then it can be traded because now it has a value that people want, right?
Right.
And so then it can be traded. That means it will go live on a decentralized exchange. So what we're doing, this is a completely 100% community effort. So we are actually right now looking for our initial investors.
Okay.
Who will say, we believe in this project. We believe in your K-12 DAO schools, in your GeniiDAO schools. And here's $2,500 to get you started. And that can either be a donation or it can be an investment. We have a profile on the endowment platform, which is for nonprofits. If any of your listeners have a nonprofit, please check out endowment, DAO in the middle. They take crypto donations and they will convert them into USD. So if you don't know anything about crypto, you don't have to. But I will say crypto donors are 4 times more generous than traditional donors.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, it's perfectly explainable. So think about right now, if you have a bunch of gift cards, right, in your home, those gift cards have value, right?
Yep.
But you can only use them at the stores where you can use them, right? So you might say, it's a birthday party. Yeah, I'll give away 2 of my gift cards, because they're not, you don't see them right now as something that you can use to, pay your mortgage, something you can use to pay your car insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is seen as more of a funny money at this point. So crypto donors are like, okay, sure. I'm hoping someone will say, here's a whole Bitcoin for you.
Yeah, right.
That would just be great. But that's why. That's why crypto donors are 4 times more generous. Because even though these currencies do have a value, and there are people in the world of crypto and Web3 that are literally paying their bills with crypto, it has not reached mass adoption yet.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
So that's why crypto donors are more generous.
All right. Well, and that's it. So I have, over time seen more and more places saying accepting crypto. And of course I just go,
That's right.
that's great. That's fun. I don't have a clue what you're talking about, but that's okay.
Right.
So for people who want to get involved and really want to help
Mhm.
this project launch, what are the steps that they should take if they have zero idea what to do about crypto, or if they don't have an
Oh my goodness.
account, or let's start
Yes.
this is toddler stage. So what do we do?
Yes. Well, first of all, you would meet me at the corner. Come to one of my talks, and I'll make sure that you have all of our links. We have a
Yes.
closed community on Mighty Networks, so you could just Google Genii, GENII, GeniiDAO, and you'll find us there.
Okay.
But so number one, come to a talk. I host them every other Tuesday night, and then every Thursday at 3:00 p.m. Eastern, we have our DAO meeting. It's wide open. Anyone can come. So we do a lot of education. We'll show you how to set up your crypto wallet. It's 100% free. If you can create a profile on Instagram or Facebook, you can open a crypto wallet.
Okay.
Right. The second thing that we are inviting self-directed learning micro school founders and families to do is to join our BeMe movement. Now, we have 3 United States communities that we are fundraising for. The one in Maryland, here in Atlanta, and another one in San Francisco.
Okay.
We have 2 learning communities in Kampala, Uganda.
Hmm.
And then we have our learners that meet in the metaverse, right? But we realize that many hands make light work.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And the benefit for a self-directed education school founder is you help us play this game, then you too can receive grant funding for your school.
Okay.
Right? Now, play the game. How do we win at playing our Be Free to Be Me game, right? Raising $5 million, north of $5 million. I haven't shared this publicly, so I'm gonna be bold here and audacious and say I'm really raising for 25 million.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
I really am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm believing for 25 million. These people raised 45.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So if they can do that, why can't we?
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to need more friends to play with us. So what do I mean when I say play? So this game is won through 2 ways: community and marketing.
Okay.
So having a strong, vibrant, active community. So we already have the people that we have, but in order to do this kind of a lift and to keep it fun and with integrity, more people, right? So what are we doing? Well, number one, we are creating memes. BeMe token is both a meme token and a utility token. All right, so what is a meme? You're familiar with what a meme is,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, a little funny, little viral little video, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, believe it or not, in the world of Web3, people have simply taken memes and created a token around a viral meme.
Okay.
And there are people who collect these meme tokens. And so I said, well, let's just create some memes about being authentic and free. And so have some fun with us. Create some memes, right? Put them out there on socials, put them out there on Twitter, put them out there on social media so that the Web3 community, people who invest in crypto, will see these memes, associate them with BeMe token, and then BeMe token can be successful.
Do you have some
The other thing, go ahead.
I'm sorry, do you have some
Oh, yeah,
examples on like your social
absolutely.
media that people could see?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
So yes, we have some examples of memes that we're creating, but I will tell you there's a meme token called the Shiba Inu token,
Yeah.
which got started right when
Yeah.
someone posted a video. A meme of their dog outside in the snow,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
and because that meme went viral, someone created a token called Shiba Inu, and now that token is now worth millions of dollars.
That's so wild. My brain is still just like, how? What? How?
I
But
know
like you said, it really is about marketing and community. So the more people that get
it is
involved, the bigger the things
correct.
become. So it shouldn't be surprising that if it goes viral, it means a lot of people are engaged.
There you
And
go.
I think that's the part is like, as where I am in my age and my age bracket,
Mm-hmm.
still not haven't crossed that wall. And I know a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
listening probably have already crossed that wall. So I'm a little behind the curve. But I mean, so once you get into the crypto world, all of this will
Yep.
probably be very self-explanatory.
Yes, it is. But don't feel bad because where we are right now, this is exactly where I was back in 1995. Missy, when I was at Morgan State, I had to take a class on technology and education.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely failed that class. Do you know what the main objective was?
I
Girl,
don't.
the main objective was sending electronic mail.
Oh gosh.
And I got an F
Oh,
in
God.
sending electronic because I said, who's ever going to need this? Just get a
Exactly.
piece of paper, get a pen, get an envelope, get a stamp, walk it down to the blue mailbox, wait
Right.
3-4 weeks. Why do you need electronic mail,
Right.
Missy? I failed that
I know.
class.
It's like we already have a system. Why mess with it? Yeah.
Right, right. So where I was then with who's ever going to do that, right? My
Mm-hmm.
kids are like, Mom, you can't be serious. You first of all, you had a class on sending an email, and then secondly, Mom, you failed it.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. And that's exactly where people are now with crypto and Web3, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the funny thing is, your children, our kids, especially those who are on Roblox and Minecraft, they're already in this world.
They're already doing it.
Roblox is
Yep.
nothing but a big metaverse.
Yep.
Yeah, Robux is nothing but a cryptocurrency. And so, what we want to do, and this ties in the Genie app, we really want to bring value to what parents and learners, unschooling parents and learners want. So, when I did the second iteration of the Genie app, I sent out a poll and I asked parents, what do you value the most? Funny thing, no surprise. They said, well, you know what? The school subjects, and you can't see me, but those are big air quotes right there. They already have a value of their own, right? The school system, academia, they already have A's and B's and GPAs. That's their currency. But what unschooling families told me is we want to place a value on the social emotional learning that our
Mm-hmm.
children get to do with unschooling. So in the Genie app, what we want to create once we raise these funds is we want to create a system, a regenerative tokenized model where once you document, whatever it is that you're doing, and the AI will translate it into the academic stuff, it is that other side. Is this a pillar 1 activity for you? Did you get to discover who you were? Is this a pillar 5 activity for you? Did you get to serve someone else with the best parts of you? Is this a pillar 2? Did you take care of your well-being? Did you learn about how to manage your social anxiety? Is this a pillar 4 for you? Did you travel and learn something about how to engage with the adult world? Is this a pillar 3? Did you learn how to be financially sustainable? And that is what we're placing a tokenized value on. So that when you document that, we want to be able to regenerate your funding, your tuition, with what you have engaged in that is most authentic to you. Now, I don't like the term earn as you learn. I can't stand that title, but I have to use it until I come up with
Right.
something else because in the industry, that's what they understand, right? So we're creating that type of model.
That makes sense. So earlier you had said like if this then this. So that's the same idea. So if a child documents their activity or their adventures or then it goes into the system as I did this, therefore that. And so
Correct.
when they document that they've done something under one of the 5 pillars, then the token becomes valuable or receives value.
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so the way the smart contract will work, we will simply type into the smart contract when X amount of BeMes are earned or received, then send X amount of money to the facilitator or director to pay for tuition. Okay. Now, all of those rules for that's all created by community. So members of the DAO, they create that governance. So the kids said, well, we want to receive BeMe tokens when we do stuff that we love to do. I said, okay, we got that. When we invite more kids to come to our school, okay, we got that. Then another kid said, well, can we spend them on robots? I said, yeah, I think we can figure that out. And then a real smart kid said, well, what about some food? Like, can we get some food? I said, you know what? Actually, you can, because this is nothing but a glorified Pizza Hut bucket from back in the day. You remember that, Miss? Right? See? So if you can get with the Pizza Hut bucket, then you can understand what this is. It's the same thing. And of course, parents are like, well, can this help to pay tuition? Absolutely. But those rules will be created by members of the DAO. So there is nothing that I am doing. I'm simply holding space for all members of the community to create their own governance. And who we really are for, Missy, is we are for anyone. So you can have your own self-directed education micro school and be a part of the GeniiDAO.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
While we do have our quote own schools, right? We welcome anyone who aligns with our vision of authenticity and freedom, who desires active community. So if you help us if you join this BeMe movement and make some memes, we have a BeMe stuffy that is traveling the country right now. BeMe stuffy almost got hung up in customs. Uh-oh. We sent BeMe up to Canada. I know, right? Girl, that was scary. we didn't know if BeMe was going to make it out.
It's like what's that flat Stanley that went around for a long, long time?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
This is a new and improved version.
That's right. So BeMe Stuffy is touring. We're creating the Golden BeMe Awards, where we are asking members of the DAO to nominate social media influencers, nominate, performers. Like I want to nominate Billie Eilish, the most famous unschooler of all time, right? And so help us create the nomination list. We will send a letter out to all of those people saying they were nominated. They will receive a 3D print that my son's going to make of a golden BeMe, and we're going to host an award show. That's the fun that we're here to have. The kids are creating merch. I'm trying to give the Stanley Cup a run for its money if we create our own water bottle.
That's great. Yeah, do it. Well, and it seems so futuristic. It really does. But it is also that you're tapping into the reality of our time, which is that this is happening, and you can either hop on that train or get out of the way. So the kids understand it. It seems really, really
they
well.
do.
Yeah,
and, they do, and it really is inevitable. Like you use the word, futuristic, and as a visionary, I often find myself in that space where a lot of ideas will come to me, a lot of solutions for the edges will come to me, but the world isn't ready for them. Yeah. But this one, though, has been brewing for the past 8 years.
Yeah. It's not like it just happened overnight. Yeah.
Yes. And you said it right. The children are already in this world. They're already there. I'm just asking the parents, just come to a class. I know you don't understand. Your kid is on Minecraft or they mining Bitcoin. I know you don't know, but I'm here to teach. This is happening now, and it is inevitable.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. So the steps that people will take are sign up for your class.
Yep.
They'll get a nice lesson in exactly what you're doing.
Yep.
next, if they're very interested in crypto and maybe they already have an account, but they can get on and look for your BeMe token
Once it goes
when
live.
it launches. Yep, when it launches. So in order to stay up to date on all of this, what's the best way for people to stay up to date?
The best way for people to stay up to date is to simply go into Mighty Networks and join our community. It's open, it's not private, it's not closed. So just go into mightynetworks.com and then search for GeniiDAO. And I'll make sure that you have all of those links.
Yes.
If someone says, wow, my community could really benefit from some funding from this alternative source, then join the DAO. And there's steps, to take to do that. If doing so, we have all kinds of perks, for members of the DAO. If fiscal sponsorship with our 501c3 could benefit, you could do that. You get to use the app. We also have a partner who could allow for church exemption in the states that make room for that, states like Maryland and Pennsylvania. If starting a micro SDE school there, you can use that distinction. You can have a space in our Mighty Networks, your own space for your own community. But you might say, I don't need all of that. We already are 501c3. The church exemption wouldn't matter in our state. Then you can be a partner. And you will still receive funding, from the token success. Your learners could join us in the metaverse. So there's many different options. But at the end of the day, Missy, we really do want to have fun. I am I am the fun girl. But we do have a motto, and our motto is FAFO, which is just the adult version of play. and this is
which is what?
Okay, so FAFO, and I'll use the abbreviated PG-13 model. It means F around, F around, and find out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we do, right? So when our families are like, oh my gosh, well, how are we going to do this? Okay, well, wait a minute. We're going to FAFO. We're going to take a risk. We're going to try it out. We're going to do like our children. We're going to play like it's real, right? Like the floor is lava. But then we're also going to remember that it's not.
Right. It's got real world consequences for sure.
Exactly. But it allows us to come to it open-minded, with a growth mentality. It allows us to take a risk, and it allows us to let it go if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such great ways to live life in general, just by being curious and trying things out and not being afraid. I mean, it is scary, to venture off of that well-worn, definitely downtrodden path in a way, like you kept saying, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. So why not shift the focus a little bit and try something different? I'm excited for you. I'm excited to see where this goes. I can't wait to sign up because I'm going to go figure out how to do all of this and
Come on, girl,
absolutely share. I need to understand it because I am a very piecemeal person. Like I have to understand this piece and how it connects to that piece. So that's why I'm asking you to break it down into those tiny little pieces, and then I'll put it back together in a way that makes sense for me.
That's right.
And so now that I have all these pieces, I understand a lot better about what you're doing and where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So with the BeMe token, that is already created. Am I right there?
Yep.
The kids have already created that.
Yep.
Okay.
So we've minted 1 billion. We have 1 billion BeMe tokens sitting in our developer wallet, and the children and our parents have already created the utility for what you will do to receive them and what they want to spend them on. But there's still more room for larger community to contribute to. Well, how exactly do we lay that out? We're on. Okay, I'm gonna use a Web3 term. We're on the Solana blockchain.
How do you spell that?
SOLANA. Solana.
Solana blockchain. Okay.
Now there's multiple different blockchains. There's Ethereum, there's Polygon, there's all these different kinds of blockchains that we could have built upon. But that is yet another decision that the community at large gets to make in the DAO. How exactly will we roll out the BeMe token in the Genie app? How much of a percentage for tuition will we be able to pay And we have to really look at how the token is performing in the market in order to determine, how much of a residual we can then pay for tuition to, how many learners. But all of that gets created in community. So yes, the children and the parents have created this initial version of utility, but there's still so much more that we're inviting the larger community to help us to choose and decide.
Okay. Well, and when you're talking and explaining about the blockchain, I'm kind of envisioning some of these other platforms that raise money for people for particular issues. If you're raising money for a family who doesn't have insurance or whatever the various ways people can raise money, is this in a way kind of the same thing? Like your token is earning value. Are you able to see it increase and then take some money out and use it as needed?
Yep.
Or do you have to wait to a certain time? Okay. So you can use it as needed.
Yep. It's just like stocks.
Yep.
It is the best example is like stocks. Just how, like, if you bought some Apple stock, you can say, oh, the markets are up today. Stocks are going well. What do they say? You sell high, you buy low. Right. Same exact concept. And of course, there's all of the different responsible, ways to do that with integrity, right? So you don't pull all of the money out the token and then, it becomes worthless. So that's why it has to be, successful. And then with integrity, you withdraw the amount that you need to do what you need to do, adding more value to your community members, which then in turn increases the value of the token. Right. Literally just like stocks, but in a decentralized way.
All right. Gosh, so much to learn. So much. Well, and then I just want to make sure I reiterate this part too about the virtual world.
Yes.
Is that open to anybody?
It is.
Any other self-directed or micro school families?
It is.
Or, okay.
Please. Yes. Our learners always want to make new friends. Let's see, this is May. We will be winding down by the end of May, but the kids still stay on and they still hop on and play together. We cook together. We have our cooking corporation. At one point in time, we had a really strong art corporation, a book club. We had a movie and show corporation. The kids made a movie in Roblox, and it's because it's children. The interest and what they will do there will ebb and flow based on what the kids want to do. But what has remained consistent is our gaming corporation, obviously. So we have kids from all over the world. At one point, we had a learner in Poland. We have kids in Oregon, kids in Canada. And it is a resource for them. Like a kid one time was trying to do something in Roblox and they said, you know what, let me hop on the GeniiVerse because I know my friends, they use Roblox Creative Studio and they know the code in order for me to do this thing.
How about that?
And so that's what they did. But yeah, it's open for anyone who wants to join. You can hop in our GeniiDAO community on Mighty Networks and engage with us there. And we'll send you what you need in order to hop on that.
Okay. Good. So that does seem like the very first place to go is that Mighty Networks community.
That is the first place to go. Okay. Everything is there.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This is amazing. I can't wait to get it out to people and to start supporting this cause. So, I think you explained it amazingly well. I'm still going to have to sit with it and make it make sense for my brain, dust off that old brain.
Oh no, Missy, really, thank you for having me. I will close with this. If anything, if no one remembers anything else that I said, at the GeniiDAO, we are really here to invent the possibility of self-directed learning micro school founders and families being whole and complete in funding. I do not want another family or another founder or facilitator to walk away in tears because of the funding.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want that to happen anymore. So I am 100% committed to making that happen. Now, the token is just one activity that we're doing, right? It doesn't have to be the only thing. Like we have some members of our DAO that are still doing the nonprofit route, right? Sending out letters to donors. That's still happening. But if anyone is committed to solving to the edges, that micro school, self-directed learning, micro school founders and families are whole and complete in tuition, then come on and join the DAO so that we can have some fun and make that happen.
I love it. You're such a visionary. This is amazing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about guests on the podcast and to stay up to date on how they are showing up to make the world a better place for children and families, please check the show notes. To become a part of the great educational awakening and to keep up with my latest writings, offerings, and workshops, be sure you're signed up for my Substack newsletter. You can also follow along on social media at Let 'em Go Barefoot. That's LETEMGO Barefoot. If you are new to homeschooling, new to unschooling, or are simply unschooling curious but not sure where to start, we now have a beautiful 43-page downloadable guide that walks you through the how and why of self-directed education and child-led learning, as well as responses to common questions and concerns around academics, motivation, college, community, and more. You can find a link to purchase your copy in the show notes. Thank you so much for your support. As always, stay curious, stay connected, and stay aware. Until next time.